It was all too much. Though it was bittersweet, it wasn't all bad. Maybe this was all for the best. Though it was bittersweet, it wasn't all bad. You turned your heads to the side, wistful, not wanting to spoil the evening with your troubles. You were glad that everyone was succeeding, but the idea of splitting up gave you a twinge of regret. I literally saw the crack on the floor and thought there was a crack in my screen. These people had been key pillars in your life. Days ahead without them, no matter how bright and shiny, felt a little empty, like a theme park after closing time. But you focus your mind on the sweet ride, your mind filled with the bitter part. But you focused your mind on the sweet part. New adventures were still ahead, and you could encourage that optimism. Crow brought some attention to himself with a clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for the food and everything.
Sure.
Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness to his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was very obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about alone. You watched him with concern as you rose from your seat. Yeah, I'll go. Take care. With those parting words, the two of you walked about the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? He had admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Ko started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his back to face you, but it was awkward and moving. I wanted to talk to you one-on-one about all this, my work moving. I mean, it was coming before, but now it's pretty much here. It should be okay, right? Cope stopped picking at his shirt, and he seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved you weren't upset at all. I'm glad you think so, too. But then he looked down, and his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes to instead rub at his arms. Are you looking forward to it? I am. Well, I'm trying to be. He ducked his head further, and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. I don't want things to end. Come on, you don't need to worry. You're going to do great things. So you're saying you're going to dress up as the future for Halloween? You're going to do great things. You're so nice to me. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arms around himself. He felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. I was just thinking, are we going to stay a couple? His words came out hesitantly. He didn't want to ask this. He didn't want to know. I'm not just talking about today, but forever, always, even if things change later, right? How do you feel we can make it? How do you feel we can make it? Or do you think we can't last? That one day we'll have to move on. You were as worried as he was. You got mad at him for this. You kept calm. I feel like I'm kind of mad. Oh, you got mad at him for this. Had you given any reason at all to ask something like that? No. Why did you have to bring this up now? You began to tear up. I don't know, Cove. I don't know anything. You should already know that answer to that. You just glared at him fiercely. I don't know, Cove. I don't know anything. Do I look like I can see the future? I'm just as lost as you.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't want to make you feel bad by bringing this up. I don't know what I wanted. But I felt I had to say something about this. Not now, then when. Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed a nearby table of people were staring. Ko's outburst had attracted attention. The eyes on you just made things worse. You felt overwhelmed, smothered by everything going on. You couldn't handle this. I need some air. Alone. Ko seemed pained, but he didn't protest when you brushed past him and left the restaurant. There was nowhere else to go but out. You stepped out onto the sidewalk. A couple cars drove by on the main street, and the breeze hit your face. You took a few deep breaths now that the conversation was no longer suffocating you. You weren't quite sure what to do next. Gaining space had been the only plan. You patted your sides on reflex and pulled out the spare key for your mom's car. Walking fast, you went down the sidewalk to the part of the street where your parents had parked. You remembered going past a particular building on the way into the restaurant and managed to backtrack your way to the car without incident. You unlocked the car with a shaky push of the button. The headlights flashed. You pulled open one of the back doors and tucked yourself inside. You shut the door and the car beeped when you locked it again. While putting the key away, you switched it out for your phone. There were concerned messages from your family. Were you okay? Was something happening? Another text came in from your sister at the moment. You didn't respond to any of it and held down the power button. You looked back at your phone and stared back at the black blank screen. You could see part of your face reflecting back, then you dropped your phone on the seat. I think I would cry. I'm like kinda close to crying right now. Your eyes burned and you blinked slowly. You felt warm tears drip down your cheeks, your breath hitched. Suddenly, or maybe not so suddenly, as this been building for a while, you started to cry. Then you tried to relax, empty your mind out of worry, distract yourself, work through your emotions. I would work through my emotions. You did your best to reflect on the situation and sort yourself out. A few minutes passed by, you breathed in the quiet, the car started to get warm, but you didn't feel like turning it on to get the AC going or roll down the windows. You wanted to text Cove where you went so he didn't worry. You wanted to text your family where you went so they didn't worry. You wanted to ask Cove to come see you. You just wanted to sit there. More time passed and eventually you felt too guilty at leaving everyone to worry about you. You would go back inside, you could deal with it, you could make yourself deal with it. When you tried to open the door to the sidewalk, it didn't budge. You took the keys and unlocked the car just in case. You tried the door again, but it still wouldn't let you out. Your frustration was rising. You slammed against the door this time. It wasn't going to open whether it wanted to or not. This time you had pushed it open a crack, but not completely. Ow! You gasped and saw some familiar bright green hair through the crack. Cove was sitting on the ground, his back against the car. You just smashed the door right into him. How long have you been there? He rolled out of the way and the door swung completely open. He got to his feet and rubbed his head awkwardly.
I think?
What is... No, that's rude! I'm so embarrassed now. The whole time, you blinked at him. I wanted to know where you went after you ran off. I was worried, but then found you here and didn't want to bother you, so I waited. Sorry, didn't notice you were trying to get out. Can we talk? You were taken aback. You swallowed your hesitation and nodded. Alright. Cove walked around to the other side of the car opposite of you. He put his hand on the door and handle and pulled. He sat down and then quietly closed the door behind him. For a moment, he faced straight ahead. His hands flinched when he got halfway through putting on a seatbelt, where he realized that he wasn't actually going anywhere. He dropped his arms and the seatbelt slipped back up into the side of the car. Neither of you seemed to know what to say. Now, eventually Cove turned to face you. He seemed serious. Everyone cared when you left the restaurant. They all wanted to be here, but I promised that I'd look out for you. He gripped the side of his cushion and regarded his lap. Like, Liz, she told me I'd better not be making things worse. I'd never be considered a trusted adult for the rest of it. Yo, we stand Liz. I hated Liz at the beginning, but I love her now. She really grew up. we love actual character growth. But yeah, everyone's here for you, even it's just me in the car. Okay. Cove stared deep into your eyes. You noticed he had some redness around his. You can do it. We can do it, Z. Make a good life for ourselves. No matter how hard it seems, we can do it. He gripped your shoulders, and you knew he was doing his best to project confidence. He wasn't sure about himself, but he was trying for your sake. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Cove. I'm not so sure. I know what you're doing when you don't have to. I know what you're doing and you don't have to. Cove ducked his head, fiddled with a bit of his hair. But I think I do. I'm not hiding it. I really do think you're going to make it. There's no way that someone like you wouldn't. You could feel his belief in you. He might have been uncertain about his own future, but it was clear that he saw something bright in yours. Cove then studied you from over his shoulder with a soft expression. He twisted his body to the side and held up his open arms. You raised your eyebrows. You went in for a hug. You didn't feel like a hug. Well, we can go in for a hug. You pulled yourself toward the middle seat so that you could reach him properly. You had to climb over one of his legs that he had been resting across the seats. He turned so that he was completely sideways in his seat, back pressed to the car door, and made space in front of him for you. You settled down against him and leaned against his chest. You wiggled in to fit comfortably. He wrapped both of his arms around you and rested one of his cheeks on the top of your head. It was very snug. He kissed your forehead gently and you relaxed into him. You breathed in You breathed him in, the scent that was uniquely Cove, oceany and citrusy. He made you feel secure and precious. Despite the cramped back seat of the car, Cove was very comfortable and his reassurance was nice. He was right here and he cared. It was hard to dwell on future troubles when he was doing his best to comfort you. His voice was calming and his eyes were full of fondness for you. His mouth worked into a crooked smile. I have a great plan. You can just stop thinking about the future and all of that. You had no idea what he meant. He didn't acknowledge your confusion and continued. I'll still get that little apartment and you can move in too. I'll stay as close to here as possible and I'll get a new job on the shopping street. I'll sell pretzels. He lightly stroked your head as he spoke. On the word pretzels, he traced a loop-to-loop shape that he had a suspicion was supposed to be a pretzel. You can probably find a job there too. You could also sell pretzels, be business partners, and then do that forever. We never have to worry about what to do or where to go or letting our lives change ever again.
So?
What do you think? You laughed through tears. It was just so ridiculous. You couldn't help but laugh even when you could feel your eyes water. It's perfect. You're a genius. Cove, that plan sucks. There's no way we're doing that. Is it bad that I actually like the sound of that plan? You stayed quiet. Is it bad that I actually like the sound of that plan? Not at all. Cove chuckled, appearing entirely too innocent. I'm pleased you agreed. I can't wait. Pretzels and you. What kind of pretzels will we sell? We will have pretzels for our meals too. We better research the apartment we get. Well, I'd also like to perform on the shopping street. We'll have to have pretzels for our meals too. As a start to our day as pretzel merchants, should we get in the mood by eating pretzels? Yep, you are what you eat. We better make mini pretzels that we can stick in a bowl and it'll be just like cereal. It was fun not to be so serious for a bit, though soon Cove's tone changed. He started to speak, but drifted off. All the sounds of the world outside were muffled and distant. In that space, in that moment, it really felt as though there was no one except you and Cove. Cove softly ran his hand up and down your arm. It felt reassuring. Finally, he was able to continue his thought. No matter what, you can count on me whenever you need something, or even if you just want it. Becoming more independent, but you're never actually alone in this world. Thank you. You nodded without a word. Sounds like I'll never be rid of you then, huh? You joked. You reached over and you put your hand on his cheek. He stroked his face softly before you leaned in. With your kiss, he tried to pass along all the adoration he made you feel. Cove responded easily and kissed you back with a smile. You parted and kissed a few times, wanting to stay close. You considered the thought of living with Cove in his tiny apartment and the pretzel plan, or just in general. I'd be fine living with you if that could ever work out. We better live together sometime, just not like that. I'd be fine living with you if that could ever work out.
Really?
I'd like that too. Cove beamed. You felt much better than you did 5 minutes ago. He was your ray of sunshine. Cove turned red, but met your face. He was happy, even though his blush took over his face. I guess we should be able to head back without carrying the weight of all this. That's important after all. He paused with a smirk. You anticipate a joke, or at least attempt at one. Our hands will finally be free for other things, like eating our meals, so that'll be nice. Thanks, Cove. Yeah, it really will be nice. That's true. Our hands are free to do other things. Now, okay, no. You sound, did I know you were such an optimist? Yeah, it really will be nice. You're actually pretty hungry at this point. There is certainly something to be said about freeing yourself from future concerns so that you can get around to living what was in your life now. He smiled, pleased at how everything turned out. With that, you happily stepped in the world again. You made sure to grab your phone and the key on the way out. Cove's stomach rumbled after you locked your mom's car back. Looks like we're heading back just in time. Yeah. It was a short walk back to the restaurant. It felt like you blinked, and then suddenly you were retaking your place at the table. You felt nervous. You didn't want to explain what happened yet. Liz took in your appearance with a grateful expression. To your surprise, she seemed all right with letting your disappearing act go. Thank goodness you're back, see? You have to back me up here. A hair elastic is called a hair elastic. It's a hair tie! Even just coming into the argument, you could tell they were just joking around. Neither Liz nor Lee was taking this thematic discussion seriously.